We got some power outages. We've got a referendum, and we'll talk about.
An official statement from the government now is that there was a purposeful sabotage.
That stuff really can affect you directly, potentially, right? Like there could be a war. You know, there could be an economic collapse.
Colombia, just now, Colombia said we don't have enough power to be able to sell to Ecuador.
Things like, the geoengineering, what do they call it? What are these? Chemtrails, where that's a conspiracy theory. And now it's geoengineering and it's cloud seeding. And
Ecuador used to be self-sufficient electricity-wise, and they started purchasing power. Do you agree with allowing complementary support from the armed force in the functions of the national police to combat organized crime, partially amending the Constitution?
Hello and welcome back to the Ecuador Insider Podcast, or as Carl wrote in our title last week, the Ecuador's Insider Podcast. Jesse, Carl, Brandon, guys, thanks so much for tuning in. We appreciate it. Right now, hit like on the video. If you're not subscribed to the channel, subscribe to the channel, because how would you get to see our beautiful faces more often if you don't subscribe to the channel? We appreciate you tuning in. We are coming to you today, Tuesday, April 23rd, 11:16 in the morning. In case anyone cares about that. We got some news. We got some power outages. We've got a referendum, and we'll talk about. And we just wrapped up a retreat. That was freaking awesome.
That was awesome.
It was a lot of fun. We're definitely going to get into that. If you're thinking about Ecuador, if you're considering Ecuador, if you just want a great vacation, if you just want to hang out with a cool bunch of people and have a great time and make some lifelong friends and enjoy, 9 days, check out the link below for our next retreat dates. We'd love to have you down here. These have kind of gotten more and more fun over the years. This last group was great. So yeah, we'll definitely dive into that. But everything good, guys? How we doing?
Doing great. Had a great week, 10 days of retreat. It was great. I mean, don't get us wrong. All the groups were great, but this group was especially awesome, right?
It was fun.
Like people just, people just really got along, and it was a great time.
Great camaraderie on this group, across the entire group.
Yes. Age,
location, it didn't matter. Like there was nothing was off limits. Everybody was flexible and super chill, super fun. Yeah, it was a great group. Great group. Sad to see him go.
What's so fun for me, or rewarding, gratifying, whatever, are those adjectives?
They are.
Nailed it. You want to put on it. What's so cool for me, right, is it's like sometimes, it's a lot of work that goes into the retreats. Yeah. There's a lot of preparation, there's a lot of planning, there's a lot of coordination. The whole team is, doing stuff, and then it's a lot of effort. And I was sick this whole time that people were here. So you can wonder to yourself, like, why am I doing this, right? You can have those thoughts. Anything you're doing in life, right? The thing that makes me keep doing these, that this retreat really hammered home for me and just sort of brought to the forefront, right, is that when we see people come to this valley and sort of discover this valley and make this valley their home, or this area their home, the way you see people morph and change in their lives is so beautiful. And to see how that happened in like 9 days.
Just on the 9 days alone.
Was wild.
Yeah.
And that like fills my heart. I really enjoy that. I mean, we had, not only like was the group friends before they got here, basically, in the WhatsApp chat that we create.
Right.
And I'm actually going to read a couple because it's worth sharing. But not only was people, but then, you've got people, and everyone's different, right? People come from their working lives. They come with whatever health stuff they have, with whatever situations they have in their life. And you just see over the course of really even just the first few days, the light come back to people's eyes. The skin gets brighter. The smiles are wider. They start to like relax.
Breathing deeper.
And then it's like, in this particular group, and this isn't always the case, but in this particular group, 100% of the attendees are actually moving here.
Right.
And it's usually pretty high. It's usually it's probably 70-80%, but I don't think we've hit 100 before. And to see the relief that people have in realizing not only that everything that they've learned is real, but also that what it means for them in their lives.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, there's an alternative. to like the grind or the whatever situation people are in. But like,
and this is people from all over the world. We had people from rural Canada, from all over the United States, Metro New York, Buffalo. That's kind of rural New York, right?
Yeah,
we had people from Portugal, from Ireland. I mean, there were people from all over, from different places, and they all, found that piece.
I mean, the folks that are traveling home, and today's Tuesday, it ended on Sunday, are like
they're miserable.
Miserable. Yeah, they can't wait to get back, and and it's all walks too. I mean, like, right, we've got a couple of people coming here just to live and rent.
Yep.
We've got other people that are interested in doing different projects that are buying stuff and in various forms. It's like all walks of life. Totally diverse group of people,
all age ranges,
and everyone got along. Not well. It was like being with family. Like it was like the way you talk crap at like a family dinner. Was the whole retreat.
Yeah, the ribbing happened early here with this group. They got really comfortable really fast. With each other and with us.
Yep. So I wanted to read this quick. I'll leave the names out just because I don't know if people want them, but I just wanted to read this quick. So this was from one of our attendees who had gotten here, but it was before the retreat started. But it just kind of showed, what was going on, right? So, met blank and blank last night. We had a nice chat about our crazy world. What lovely people this place attracts, and I believe this is the magic of Vilcabamba. Higher vibrational people, in parentheses, awake people. In fact, everyone I've met since I arrived has beautiful energy. A blank from Russia, or actually I can't say his name, Daniel from Russia, who drove me from the airport, is the guy we hired, friend of ours who has a big comfortable van, who does a lot of the transportation. What a lovely, genuine guy. Monica at the office, she's one of the people who works with us. Monica at the office is so helpful and a wonderful person who helped me put out a self-inflicted issue. Ryan, who's one of our agents, took me to see some properties, is really nice and great to hang out with. In parentheses, we got to see the ninja guy walking around town with his tactical gear on and carrying his samurai sword. Elizabeth and Dieter at the hotel, this is Ishkai Luma, where we host the retreats, here are so helpful. There's a real sense of community here, and it comes from the beauty of everyone in this area because it attracts beautiful souls. It was clear to see, and even just after one day with a finger heart emoji and another heart emoji, Vilcabamba is indeed a very beautiful and special place, and I'm looking forward so much to meeting everyone else in the group and the rest of the team. Like, I was already looking forward to this retreat at this point,
Right.
It's pretty awesome.
It was pretty awesome.
And that was kind of we got the feedback from, you could almost apply that to anyone in this particular retreat.
Yeah.
They felt similarly or shared that, openly with us. It was a special group.
And in the chats, this kind of stuff it's like heartwarming. I wake up and read the chat so I can feel good for the day.
Right. Well, this group seems to have created like a bond. They all the groups kind of have that bond in the chat where they stay communicating. But this group seems to be really active, really connecting. This is lifelong friendships here, man, for sure.
So this was another one I'll read real quick that was after the retreat. Actually, oh yeah, it does say who wrote it. So it says, a heartfelt thank you. This is also in the group chat. Dear retreat organizers, USA and Canada attendees, and everyone in Vilcabamba. I wanted to take a moment to express my deepest gratitude for the incredible 9-day retreat in Vilcabamba. Your genuine care, warm hearts, and sense of humor made this experience truly special. Don't get choked up, Brandon. Don't do it. To the beautiful organizers of Abundant Living and Daniel, your hard work and attention to detail ensured that everything ran smoothly. Your kindness and dedication did not go unnoticed, and I'm immensely grateful. To my fellow attendees from the USA and Canada, you're all beautiful souls. Our shared stories, laughter, and camaraderie created lasting memories. Thank you for being a part of this journey. And to Vilcabamba itself, what a magical place, beautiful town. The vibrant characters, delicious food, energy, and breathtaking scenery made every day feel like an adventure. I leave this retreat with newfound friendships and a heart full of joy. Thank you for making this a funny, great, and happy experience. I look forward to sharing this beautiful journey with you all, my friends, with love and appreciation. I won't say the name. But yeah,
Thank you.
It's like real. It's like really
Salud.
Actually how the retreat went.
Yeah,
We didn't pay any of these people to say any of this. And it was cool for me too. Like, we do we do a health day on the retreat, and that's to highlight the probably 40 or 50 incredible, like world-class level health practitioners, natural health practitioners, healers basically that live in the valley from all over the world. So, we have a panel. It's usually 3 to 5 people of those 40 or 50. So it's a very, very small sampling. Obviously, we tap people who we think are good, of course.
Sure.
But, we had an attendee a year or two ago, probably you would know when, but maybe a year ago, who had 15 years had been dealing with severe pain in his shoulder and neck.
Right. And range of motion issues.
And range of motion, and like nerve stuff. And in one session with one of the people who presented at the on the panel for the health day, it had fixed him. And we saw him at dinner the last night, which was the day after or the day of that he had seen her, and he was like lit on fire. Yeah.
He's floating.
And so then I ran into him. He came back to town, a few months back, and
6 months
6
later,
months back, or 6 months later,
yeah.
and spent some time. So we hung out a bit when he was back in town, and I was curious because it was like, I think it was even longer than that, but whatever it was a significant period of time. I was curious, so I asked him like, "Hey, was that actually a permanent fix, or are you dealing with that?" He's like, "No." He's like, "It's gone. It's still gone." It was like amazing, and we had a number of people who started to have those similar types of experiences in this group.
I mean,
which was really cool.
Yeah, and some of the presentations, guys, they're the healers and the health practitioners. They'll do some hands-on, kind of workshop light, activities, and we saw firsthand like people get fixed in several different ways just in this short little panel. Like people that have been dealing with head trauma for, nerve trauma in their cranial nerves for 15 years and was dramatically better. Like physically, you could see an improvement in certain aspects of him, right? Just in
100%.
Right?
Just the light, man.
Right.
If you looked at like him in particular, his photo that he sent prior to coming, and then you looked at him like a few days after being here, it was like a different person.
Yeah. Oh, and he's
beautiful.
great.
He's awesome. He's a really cool guy.
Oh man, he made me laugh every single
like the whole time. It took me a couple of days to like start really listening and paying attention to what he was saying, and then once I did, I was very glad I did because he's hilarious.
A lot of pressure when you come back, Jay.
So yeah, man, that was a lot of fun, and there's something else I wanted to say about that. What was it? No, I mean, I guess just in general, just for me, it makes me like, okay, let's keep doing, these retreats because, people don't know about this place, right? And what's here is freaking amazing.
Yeah.
The lifestyle and just the community and the weather and the cost of living and all of it is just an amazing place, and you can't. There's no way to do justice to that. Like, we sit here and babble about it all the time. You can't really, through words, make somebody understand what it feels like to be here. But to see people come and feel better and look better and be happier and have that hope and have that sort of, it's really that hope. It's, you see people going home knowing now that, like, wow, there's
an option.
There's an
something
option.
Better.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Something different.
That's really rewarding.
Yeah.
And I remember too, one of the couple of the participants was, expressing to us, one in particular was saying, the amount of value that you guys provide on this retreat, you guys could double the price and it still wouldn't be worth, still wouldn't be high enough as to what the value is worth. Because we really have taken an enormous amount of, care and planning that's gone into this that said, okay, if I'm thinking about living in Ecuador and particularly this region of Ecuador, like how in 9 days could I understand just about everything? Right. Like how could I condense that into 9 days and take, years and years of learning curve and put that into 9 days? And that's how it's designed, right? So there is downtime, there's a massage built in, there's a lot of fun in terms of the meals and things like that. But overall, it's action-packed. Like, it's like you're really experiencing this place in a logical, ordered sort of manner, the good and bad, and then you're getting all the presentations and the expert panels. Yeah. And, you're really, like, leaving here knowing for sure,
right.
Is this what I want or not? Right. To do that on your own, you certainly could do it, but you'd spend 6 months or a year here. And you'd like little by little by little, you'd start to figure it out. And get
one
the
step forward,
information
2 step back, kind of thing. And, but you're getting, you know, we do a visa presentation with, you know, our pick for the best visa provider in Ecuador. That gives you, he goes through every single visa option available, gives you the updated requirements, talks you through, answers questions. That's really valuable for people to understand clearly what their options are and how that, because that's the first part, right? When people want to move here, how do I get residency here, right? So that's a critical piece. And Joseph does a phenomenal job explaining the differences and laying it out and answering questions. And then what else do we have? You know, shipping container. People want to ship some of their stuff. Sometimes they have heirloom furniture. They have certain things that they want to bring down, and that's a complicated process. So we have a shipping container 101, and we have a legal 101 where you learn about, you know, self-defense laws and, you know, just personal legal issues. We do an accounting or tax 101 with, you know, our accountant. We do, what else do we do? Real estate 101.
Real estate, investing doing business here.
The builder and construction panel.
Building and construction panel, right.
They go from like every single step of the construction process, right? The acquiring permits and the foundation work and the structural work and all of that stuff. And designing the house. And all of these builders, they work with expats, you know, they're used to working with us, so they understand the type of mentality, but also it's all custom built, so you really can design and build your dream home. So a lot of people in the group have decided that they prefer building rather than buying a house, which is understandable if you have the time, you know, and you're willing to do it.
Yeah, there's a lot of value there.
There's better value. I mean, the way the market is right now, there's better value.
And then what else? We do the safety and security update, safety and security 101. I feel like we're missing some still, but there's like a ton of education. You know, you guys have a wealth of experience. You guys have both been here for over 10 years apiece. And then, so just the stuff that you share with the group, just the insights that you probably don't even realize are helpful to folks, but just sharing that, and when they ask questions and you just know because you've been here for a decade, like that's super helpful. That's even helpful. Like even sometimes when I'm hearing you guys talk to the folks, I'm like, oh, all right, well, I wonder why they never told me that.
we work in like cultural tips and advice and sort of info into all of the presentations as well, because that's super important also. And also you're just, you know, like you're seeing all the relevant areas and you're also seeing all the relevant sort of options of like how life can look here. You're getting, you know, you're getting a hands-on look, feel, experience for all of those things in like a logical way, right? So it's like spend the first couple of days kind of getting oriented in different ways, and then you start to hit the different towns and valleys, and you know it's all kind of like, it's good. It's a lot of fun.
And this is I mean, Ecuador, let's be honest, like Ecuador and this area of Ecuador is not for everybody. It's really not. So the fact that this entire group is moving here, I'm always kind of expecting a portion of the group like, this is totally not for me. And so this group was unique, and there wasn't anybody really like that at all. But it kind of, to me, it's like a testament to this group and maybe the time we're in, because you've got Ecuador in the national news over the last, you know, couple months. It's not been a positive news story. You've got more uncertainty, different places in the world, and all these different things and all these different stresses. And then this isn't like, you know, making a decision to attend a retreat like this, you know, that's already hard to cut through the doubt, to go on a retreat, a vacation in southern Ecuador through all that, let alone, you know, deciding to move your life here. That's a heavy decision. That's not like, where are we going to dinner tonight, honey? It's like, we're moving to a new continent. Like that's a super heavy. So for a group to be able to cut through the doubt and the fear and the self-doubt and all that stuff, to be able to make a decision to attend the retreat and then want to move their life here, man, that's a special person. That's a brave person. That's a critical thinking person. That's really cool, man. Really cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Did you drop your mic
back on? I was needed to blow my nose, and I didn't want to Yeah, it is on. I'm getting the
You're
thumbs
so
up.
cognizant. I mean, last week you went
I
to the
did.
bathroom.
Yeah,
huh?
yeah, it was definitely me.
Turn your mic off next time.
Yeah, I'll work on that. Thanks. All right, well, let's jump into... Anyway, so if the retreat does interest you, check the link below. We'll have a bunch of videos coming out as well in the coming weeks, kind of showing what this retreat was like.
Yeah,
we finally got our act together on getting some of that
Fernando
footage,
got some awesome content
this time, so that'll be good. All right, so let's jump into the power outages. That's been a strange and interesting experience. So starting, what, a week ago or something?
Yeah, it's about a week.
Something like that.
Right when the retreat started.
Right. Yeah.
There's power outages.
Fun.
We started getting, out of the blue. Like Ecuador has a very good infrastructure, and this place doesn't have these kinds of issues normally.
Right. Carl and I were chatting before you got here, and he said he doesn't recall a time since he's been here in 12 years that they've had blackouts like this.
No. It's almost 13 years, and it's really the first time in 13 years that we've had power cuts. There was another time, wasn't it, during Lasso when Noboa just got elected, that they were planning some potential power outages? Loja didn't get hit because there was a mining company out of Zamora.
Yeah, that was just like a few
power.
months ago. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was pretty recently. So we didn't get affected here, but some other parts of Ecuador, I think Cuenca had some power cuts.
Yeah, they were saying like Ecuador gets a large portion of its electricity from hydro.
Yes.
Electric, which gets affected by rains apparently.
Yes.
And how much water is there. Which does make sense. Yes.
I mean, it does make sense, but I mean, come on, like they've been cloud seeding since the 70s. Everybody knows this. It's not a conspiracy theory. If they want water, they can cloud seed. Like, I sound retarded, I know, but whatever. It's true. They do it. It's not a conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Cloud seed. Is there really a drought? Look what happened in Dubai. They cloud seed the crap out of the Middle East to get in the deserts, right?
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so if it's really an issue, they can. It's a rainforest, for crying out loud. I mean, what?
Well, when you put it like that.
Yeah,
what do you mean?
I mean, at least here we can tell a difference between the dry season and the rainy season. Yeah. We don't have any hydroelectrical plants here.
No, they're all in the Amazonian region.
There are definitely seasons of more rain and less rain in Ecuador.
Oh, sure, yeah. But even in dry season, it's like there's still tons of lushness in dry season in our region. It's not like the whole mountain. Like this mountain browns out some, but like you're seeing, there's still greenery everywhere. It's not like I think it's good perspective for people. 'Cause like for me in the Midwest, beyond the evergreens, like when we go out of season, when it's winter, everything's brown and like literally everything besides the evergreens, right? So
I feel like since Brandon's been here, we haven't had a real dry season. Though.
What are you doing?
I'm just messing with you, bro.
Thanks, honey.
You're welcome. You got a little spot of lipstick on your.
But I think, well, there is definitely a huge contrast between the dry season and the rainy season here. I mean, we can tell out of the 12 years, it significantly browns and gets yellowish. But I feel like for the last 2-3 years, we haven't really had a real proper dry season.
Oh, it's not, okay.
It's been raining a little more during dry season and raining a little less during rainy season. It seems like the average has changed a bit. So I feel like last year we haven't had a proper dry season. It stayed green.
There was one year, was that last year?
Yeah.
Yeah, there was one year where it rained through dry season, which I've never seen before.
Yeah, same.
It's never really been super dry since I've been, like anything like you've described since I've been here.
No, to Carl's point, the last few years have been a little different.
And really, like this rainy season has been a little less. I mean, it's still raining, but
less.
But a little less,
for sure.
A little less.
Yeah, it's also gotten warmer in this region.
Yeah.
Like Vilcabamba didn't used to hit mid to upper 80s.
Right.
It does occasionally now.
Yeah.
The first 8 years I was here, that didn't happen.
Right.
Like, it was like it would top out at like 83, 84, like never get higher than that.
So let's dive into the blackouts a little bit, right? Because there's obviously that, right? I don't know, Occam's razor, is that what it is? Is that like the simplest explanation is probably the likeliest? So is it just less rain? Maybe, I don't know, is that the simplest right now in the crazy world we live in? Because there's all kinds of different stories about, again, this goes into the political stuff.
Yeah.
You got different parties saying different things, blaming each other for sabotage or incompetence or, like, I don't, you know a little bit more. Why don't you share a little bit of that?
Right. Well, the official statement from the government now is that there was a purposeful sabotage of some of the hydroelectrical plants, either by hiding that there were some things that needed to get done, or simply by sabotaging to some extent. But I think from what I've read, the statement from Noboa is that there's been an issue with power and it was never shared, so therefore they weren't able to do what needed to be done, the maintenance or whatever, and so that's the sabotage. There's an investigation.
And he subsequently fired the energy minister.
Yeah,
is that right?
Yeah. So I can read it if you want. Yeah, he fired the energy minister, Andrea something, who's a Correísta. So that's also why they're blaming potentially her being part of the sabotage. But there are 22 people that are being investigated. So that's the official statement from the government. Of course, there is, quote unquote, a drought. That's also part of the reason. Colombia has also said there's a drought in Colombia, therefore they don't have enough power to be able to sell power to Ecuador. That's another thing. I read this morning that during Lasso's presidency, the previous president, about 2 or 3 years in, he started buying power from Colombia, which hadn't been done before. Ecuador used to be self-sufficient electricity-wise, and they started purchasing power from Colombia, and just now Colombia said we don't have enough power to be able to sell to Ecuador. Right. So all of those factors, the drought, Colombia not selling power, potential sabotage of some kind, maybe maintenance issues. That's what the other side says, is that these things were known by the government for a while, that they needed to have some maintenance, some turbines needed to be changed, potentially some batteries or other things needed to be maintained, and they haven't done it for a certain amount of years, and now they're getting to the point where that work needs to get done because there's not enough power to
So
generate.
The Correístas are claiming negligence.
Yes.
On the Noboa's party, and Noboa's saying sabotage.
Yes.
You know, like
it's amazing.
Right? It's like
Latin American politics.
That's
never
politics
stops.
anywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, that's Trump and Biden in the U.S. right now. You know.
Yeah, of course. Right.
It's the same thing. That's
it's
what I'm saying.
A little funnier here.
So you've got that. So you don't know the truth. You've got like, all right, is it a little bit of a drought? Yes. You've got, all right, well, Colombia, is not selling power to Ecuador, but Ecuador is self-sustainable. It still is. Like, it's just like the U.S. buys fuel. They're still energy self-sufficient if they want to be, right? They could mine coal, they can drill oil, but we don't, right? So just because Ecuador bought power from Colombia doesn't mean it's not energy self-sufficient if it really wants to be. So again, I don't know. I don't even know how to parse through it anymore. I don't know.
The timing is interesting too. So
in what sense?
So all right, I'm gonna have to give a caveat here. Like, if we're gonna talk about politics, oh boy, right? Like, you gotta give several caveats. You gotta I don't know. You gotta do something. But
well, we're not talking about politics.
No, I'm about to. So
oh, boy.
so
I'm gonna go to the bathroom.
So so the timing is interesting, right? So first of all, I am not a socialist. I don't lean that way. We do have a Correísta here to my left, who can represent that viewpoint if he wants to. But the way that I sort of look at politics in Ecuador is I look at people's track record in terms of what they've told me over the years and how that's turned out, and then the ones that have been correct over and over again are the people I listen to. So Milton is one of those people. He's a builder, a good friend of ours, a business partner, somebody that we've had on the podcast. And so he's someone I ask about what's going on politically in Ecuador because his track record has been phenomenal. So we were chatting with him. He was at our final lunch goodbye for the retreat on Sunday, and we got a chance to talk. And when you guys went to town to hang out and whatever, me and Milton were chatting outside the restaurant. And so I was just kind of like, man, this power outage thing is wild, huh? Or I think we were talking about the referendum first. I don't remember, but so he said some interesting things, right? And he's pretty tuned in politically. He usually has a good sense of what's going on. So he said, well, I asked him about the referendum, like, is any of this stuff actually important? Because what I read, it didn't look like super important to me. It didn't look like anything like I deeply cared about. The very surface level.
We'll read them.
I don't even remember what's on there, but I remember when I looked like a year ago or 6 months ago when they were talking about this. Anyways, he's like, they do these kinds of things to gauge political support. And I was like, oh, that's interesting, right? The party in power puts out the referendum. It gives them a real-time number of how much support they have.
Yep.
Like, oh, that makes total sense. And then the subject sort of switched to the power outages, and he's like, look, all of the, you know, basically he's saying and this we all know, this is not a conspiracy. You know, you've got first of all, Rafael Correa's party, which is no longer 35, whatever it is now. They're the largest, most powerful party in the country by far, right? So they have, you know, they probably have about 35 to 40% of people in Ecuador support that party, and then the other 60 to 65% is split amongst a bazillion parties, and then once you get to the national level, those parties all coalesce into one to get not to vote against Correísmo, because a lot of people don't want the socialism, don't want Correísmo, right? So that faction, that bloc, is very, very powerful, and they still have a ton of power, a ton of control within all levels of government, all of the bureaucracy, etc. So Milton's point was, you know, right before you have this referendum vote, which is going to gauge, you know, which is going to say a lot about the power currently of the current president, you've got blackouts. You've got nationwide blackouts that, of course, are going to piss people off. Like, I mean, it's going to make people very upset. That made a lot of sense to me. You know, that made a lot of sense to me. Who knows? Like, I have no idea. But, yeah.
That's interesting. We'll go into the referendum and the consulta popular. There were 11 questions. It looks to me like both sides say they won, basically, right?
Is that right?
So Noboa's like, we won, we got more seat. And then the Correístas like, we won because the two questions that were beneficial for Noboa people, they voted no again. They voted no for. We'll read those later, but it's interesting, you know, based on what you're describing, the purpose of these questions were for. That being said, yeah. So the government officially says there's sabotages. Another, I think, interesting thing to point out is, since Noboa's government went into the Mexican embassy to arrest the ex-vice president under Correa, Jorge Glass, Mexico breaks ties with Ecuador. Venezuela's breaking ties with Ecuador. They're removing their consulates or embassies in Ecuador, which, if you read the comments on social media, it's kind of funny because, you know, the Ecuadorians are like, why don't you take all the Venezuelans out as well? Don't just remove the embassy. Like, take your people back, you know. Which I don't know what's going to happen with Venezuelans now. They don't have an embassy here, so it might be more complicated for them. But part of that too is Colombia is also aligned ideologically with Venezuela and Mexico, a little more on the socialist side, right?
Is Mexico left at this point?
Yes, AMLO, yes.
Really?
AMLO, yeah. There are actually lots of
Is that
people
a new thing or no? I don't follow this stuff.
No, but he's not been. Yeah, Mexico's not historically been, at least. Yeah. Not that I recall.
The pendulum swings.
Yeah, of course. It goes back and forth. Yeah. I mean, we've lived through several of those swings here already. Yeah.
Many Correístas, political people, have sought asylum in Mexico. Yep. So that was not the first one. Many of them actually went to Mexico. Mexico gave asylum to other people. The Correístas say that they're politically, what's the word? They're being targeted. There's a political persecution against them.
Maybe they shouldn't have stole so much money. I don't know. It could have something to do with it.
Anyhow, so potentially Colombia is also refusing to sell their power to Ecuador because of the ideological alignment with the other countries and stuff.
Sure.
Right? That's another thing that could be going on. And then the other theory, which some people share, I don't know if that's necessarily what the Correístas are saying, but is that Ecuador, there's a plan to privatize power. So now they're like purposely not doing maintenance and stuff to eventually sell the hydroelectrical dams to private companies who are going to manage it better, and now power will be privatized in Ecuador. That's kind of a conspiracy theory. I don't think it's been spoken a lot in the media or anything, but I've heard some people theorizing that could be the purpose of this whole thing as well.
That must have come out of Venezuelan state-run media.
Maybe.
Where Carl gets all his news.
No. I've listened to all sides. I mean,
I'm totally just trying to piss people off. And I just want to say too, like the whole point of living in a place like this is that you can talk about nonsense. Like, politics is nonsense, all of it, in my opinion. It's
kabuki theater, baby.
Right. Did you say it right this
time?
Did. It's total nonsense. I mean, the root of the word is, multiple blood-sucking animals, like literally, like poly, a lot, ticks. a blood-sucking animal. Like that is literally what it, the truth is always in the language. But so I don't actually, prescribe to politics at all. I'm not a fan of Noboa. I don't believe in the political right any more than I believe in the political left at all. I think it's all nonsense. But what goes on all over the world to such a large degree is people get so angry about these things and fight with each other. And that doesn't happen here really much at all. And in this valley, certainly not. And it's one of the really nice things, right? Like you and I probably actually do differ politically on a lot of stuff. It doesn't matter at all. It's okay. Guys, if you disagree with me, if you disagree with Carl, if you disagree with Brent, it's okay, right? Like, it's okay if our beliefs aren't the same. We can still hang out, we can talk, we can have a debate if we want to, or not, preferable. Right. And, and you can watch our channel, not watch our channel. Like, it's okay to disagree with people, right?
Yeah, I think it's important to also mention those are planned power cuts. It's not like the power just shuts off at random times, right? They're planning, they're sending out, some days in advance. This day we're going to cut between, like the last couple of days with 8 a.m. to noon,
8 to
right?
noon, right.
So it's 4 hours.
In our region.
No power in our region.
Yep.
Actually, interestingly enough, it looks like Loja, the city, gets 2 power cuts a day, whereas Vilcabamba only gets 1. Maybe because there's much less usage here, right? We don't require a lot of power, so they're giving us only 4 hours of and then up north is even more. I think some places are like 12 hours.
Oh, wow.
Where they're shutting down the power in some places up north. So that's that's worth mentioning. And then interestingly enough, during our retreat, we were in Loja one day that they were cutting the power in the middle of the day. Everyone was very surprised that it was just business as usual. Everything was functioning, nothing shut down, all the stores were open, people were on the streets.
Batteries, generators, everybody's got stuff if they have to.
So the bank was open like normal. Everybody opened a bank account during the power outage because the bank had a generator and stuff. And it just...
oh, is that right? The banks were open?
Yeah, the restaurant, turned on the candles. They still cooked us our meal and stuff.
Dude, that was awesome. We had the one dinner, what was that?
In town.
In town at Vilcabamba.
Oh, that was great,
yeah, they had candle, power was out. They had everything was with gas. So the cooking was fine, but they had candle lights.
Yes.
Then the power came out right at the end, and I was like, no. I was disappointed.
It was way worse.
It was like a nice mood, nice, like
that's important to mention that most of the heating here is propane. Most of the cooking's propane. Right?
By heating, you mean
heating,
cooking.
water
heating.
Water heating. The water heating.
Oh, water heating.
Yeah, so hot water is on, cooking's fine, so people can still live pretty much almost a normal life without power. I mean, at least for a time when the fridge, fridges required that. And then the other thing too that you said, I thought that was wild. We were in town and it was pitch dark.
Yeah.
Like being in Vilcabamba, pitch dark.
Yeah.
I've never seen that experience. I've never had that experience before. We've had it at home where it turns off but then when the whole town's dark, like there's people walking on the street with flashlights and stuff in town.
It's awesome.
Pretty eerie.
It was really cool.
I like it.
I liked it too.
It's pretty cool. Like from here, I can see like all the lights and all the street lights and stuff at night. And then when the power goes out, and it's just like I'm sitting there watching like right when it goes, and it's just like bink, and it's just all at once, and it's just black, and I'm like, wow. And then you kind of see like I don't know, it's really cool.
You lose the light pollution, the stars look better.
Then all of a sudden, you wait a little bit, dude. There's
no electromagnetic field, so you feel a little better. Like it was nice.
It's not really been. It's been a little bit of an annoyance.
Yeah,
but it's not been a big issue, really.
Yeah. I kind of like it.
Cell phone data still works, so we still get internet basically through the phones.
Yeah.
Now there are more people on the network. It seems like the network's a little slower,
right?
Yeah, in certain areas especially.
Yeah. I think some of that stuff that we were talking about with the politics, and I was talking to some friends back in the States, and when I was living there, I was much more into it, spending so much time like worried about it, concerned about it. Again, at the end of the day, I'm not sure there's been many, regardless of which party's in president or in office and who the president is in the U.S. If there were I can't recall specific things that were like, wow, that president put this law in place and it impacted my life negatively in the moment, in real time. Now, again, over time, things kind of like the boiling frog, where they're kind of trending things, you can make that argument, but there's not been this big thing that's negatively impacted my life, and that's kind of where I got to the point with coming here. You almost don't it's like a privilege that you have living here because because even like this, you've got the power blackouts and it really didn't even impact your life. It didn't impact any, like as business as usual. In the States, if there's stuff like that in a big city, that's an issue. So like it's actually a real concern. Like I would be really concerned about something like that. And the way the politics in the States are getting so, I don't know if violence the right word, but just the vitriol. I mean, we always see the anger, like everybody ratchets up the anger online. That's easy, all the keyboard warriors. But then you're just seeing like all these news stories of just these random acts of violence and just things like that I'm just like, and political, like even some of the political, activism now, people lighting themselves on fire, and it's like taking
Really?
like, yeah, multiple times, people are lighting themselves on fire now in political about political protests and all kinds of things. So when you see things going to that level, like I had more concern. I followed that stuff because I was more concerned there because although there weren't things that presidents did that impacted my daily life, the tone that was being set and the trajectory of that, I had concerned about that, like here, I don't have that. So it almost allows you to not have to follow it, to not have to put mental energy into caring about every little machination of the political debate, the hyperbole and any of it, because, an emergency, a catastrophe happens and you're less affected here. Like you have, I don't know. I don't know if I'm describing it how I'm feeling it.
I think it's worth mentioning too that this place in Ecuador is special. Like we don't see a lot of the repercussions of things that are happening. Like Ecuador is going through a crisis right now. The cartels, there's gangs, there's killings, there's murders in certain places. The military is trying to put an end to it. Then you have power cuts. But like and on the coast, where it's so hot, people need air conditioning. Like they're being affected.
Oh,
by
sure.
the power cuts.
That's a good point.
If you go up in the mountains somewhere where it's much colder, there's some heating and stuff. If they don't have, luckily the propane works here, but
I don't think there's anyone in Ecuador heating their homes with electricity.
Yeah.
No, yeah, it's true.
No one even heats their
propane
homes,
mostly.
even at high elevation. Anyways, sorry.
Fires.
But at least in Ecuador, well, this place in Ecuador we don't get, it's a very special place. Yeah. Like there's Ecuadorians who left Ecuador. And they're like, oh, Ecuador's, going through a crisis. Ecuador's bad. I wouldn't live there. But they don't know Vilcabamba. Maybe they're from Guayaquil or they're from Quito or something like that, right? So anyways, I just want to say, like, this is really a special place in Ecuador also where, the crisis doesn't affect us very much because of the weather part of it, but also because we're far away from all of this stuff,
And we get comments from Ecuadorians that are living in the States that talk about how they can't wait to, that are from this region, they're from the Loja area, and they're talking about, I can't wait to come back. I want to retire there. I want to come back to Ecuador. So you're seeing some of that stuff.
I mean, I would extend the point you were making, Brandon, to world events in general. Like it's politics for sure. Like I pay zero attention to U.S. politics, like zero, and haven't for years. Because again, it's nothing to do with my life at this point. Also, I can't control it. That's the other thing.
No,
like
that's
getting,
the big piece.
Getting upset or emotional or frustrated or involved or invested in stuff you can't control is just a bad idea, period. Like it's gonna, whatever you think or don't think, you hate Biden, you hate Trump, you love Biden, you love Trump. One of them's gonna unless something happens, one of them will be president, and you'll be happy and you'll be sad and you'll be pissed and you'll be glad about stuff and you'll wish they did things differently and you'll wish they did this, and it's like getting all wrapped up in that is just a poor choice in my opinion, right? Yeah. But to your point about politics affecting us here less and therefore having to pay less attention, I would put that into the economy, the dollar, wars, like global events in general. We don't have to worry about them to the same degree here, and therefore for me in my life, now look, you can, like there's folks in town that like are all wrapped up in what's going on in Israel and Palestine, and are all wrapped up in what's going on in Ukraine and Russia, and are all wrapped up in whatever else is going on in the world. You can choose to do that if you want to. But it's like in the U.S. or in the quote-unquote Western world, that stuff really can affect you directly, potentially, right? Like there could be a war, there could be an economic collapse that means there's no food in the stores. You know, like you could actually be confronted with real, tangible, hands-on, life-changing stuff as a result of things you can't control, as a result of like international situations.
Thank you for clarifying what I was trying to say much more succinctly.
No, but I think the political part's important too. Like, so, you know, and so, right. But here, you know, yeah, you're not, I mean, like, if there's, let's just take a worst case scenario and there's a huge global war, like, what is that going to look like for rural southern Ecuador? There'd be some little differences, like imported goods would be harder to get, you know, there'd be some amount of difference, but it wouldn't be much, you know. Essentially, life here would go on as normal. You know, you wouldn't, right? So
I guess unless Peru and Ecuador are at war, maybe it would be effective.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, that's very likely.
You know, which it has happened historically. There was a war.
Yeah, but it's not a war. Like, it's like some guys with guns that like go at it for 30 minutes and then it ends. It's not. There's no tanks. There's no planes. It's not a war. It's not war. It's like there was a skirmish over a border. Like that's.
Sure.
You know, that it's just like it's like a war from like, you know, 1420. Like.
Right.
Yeah. Well, interesting. Yeah. No, it's true. But you were saying, you know, don't focus on things you can't control. But in a sense, what you can control is like if you can see that wherever you live might not be as safe or might not be as, you know, good as in the future, you can move to a different place, right? You can control where you live.
That.
So,
Yeah.
right? So,
And that's a really hard decision. Like we talked about that, you know, that's a heavy, really difficult thing to do, and it's not getting any easier, man. Like it's not, you know, the powers that be. I just mean like the administrative side of immigrating to countries is not getting easier. And then the decision to financially do it is not getting any easier. The further you are into that, you know, rat race lifestyle, debt-driven, it gets harder physically, it gets harder administratively, and it gets harder psychologically, man, for sure.
Yeah, so it's like, you know, those kinds of questions, and it's again, like, we're not here to convince anybody of anything, like, at all, right? Like, you make the point all the time. I think it's really important that we reiterate that like, this place is not for everybody at all.
It's not for
right?
most
like,
people.
It's not for most people,
It's
right?
true,
Like,
which is wild,
if you're someone who cares a lot about convenience, cares a lot about things running smoothly, people showing up on time, being able to, like, click and get all the stuff you want easily, and, you know, not just having, like, sort of a life that's click and convenient.
Not for you.
This place is not for you. Like, this place would drive you nuts, right?
Yeah.
And I think there's, I'd say, yeah, as you said, I mean, I think most of the population of the world probably, or at least the quote-unquote Western world, would not enjoy their life here in this region of Ecuador.
Yep.
You know, so I think really, like, those things that, Carl, you just brought up, and Brandon as well, in terms of, like, what kind of decisions you want to make for yourself in those ways, it really comes down to, like, what your values are. You know, like, what do you value in your life? Like, what do you want, right? Because if you're somebody who's, like, really into the latest news and the latest trends and, you know, pop culture, and, you know, you're checking your TikTok and your Instagram and all this stuff all the time, and you're, you know, you hate Biden or you hate Trump, and you're really wrapped up in that, and, you know, and you're worried about your healthcare plan and whether, you know, all this stuff. You're not, like, this value system here, like what this place offers, is not going to fit your value system.
It's not going to feed that
at
anyway.
all, right?
You're going to starve that,
right? So now, you know, from my perspective, right, people in the, like, developed economies, more developed economies, which is a terrible word because it, you know, a terrible.
I mean,
word,
we just get hammered. We say Western, developed, third world. It
Now
doesn't
we have to say
matter.
Western.
I don't know, but now we get, well, Ecuador's in the Western world. Yes, it's in the West. Yeah, okay. It doesn't matter. Hopefully people
you
get
guys know what we're talking about. Yeah. You know, but you know, the more developed economies, from my perspective, like living here, going back, seeing there, coming back here, etc. I mean, people are stressed. They're beat up. They're stressed financially. They're often unhealthy. Like, it's tough. It's a tough place to survive. I don't necessarily mean financially, although it can be that too. But just as a human, like a healthy, thriving human, it's not easy to be up at 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. and hitting it all day and just technology all day and, you're just constant stress of where's the money coming from because everything's so expensive and inflation. And
driving the kids here, and driving back here, and this activity, and this
lack of community and lack of human human connection also. So it's like if your values are, no, wait, I want to slow down, I want sun, I want warmth, I want water, I want food, I want community, I want people, I want, I value that more than I value like the fancy car and the, the 401k and the blah, blah, blah. Like, then this place might be awesome for you. But it's really like, it comes down to those values.
Yeah. Yeah, you mentioned earlier, Carl, when you were talking about some of the other things that we can't control and, with the cartels and some of this other negative stuff. Just, I want to go off on a little sidebar. There was some FBI documents. Did you guys see those? They got released, or they were refound. Maybe they were already part of the archived vaults, but they really go into how, like, naming names with like government officials with the U.S., like George Bush the father, part of the, how corrupt and how widespread the drug cartel is. It's not just South America, guys.
Oh, of course.
I mean, but they're like, it's wild what you should find these documents and read. They talk about, like, there's this, I forget what the general's name is. Like, he went in and, like, according to these documents, like, cut off Noriega's nuts and shoved them in his mouth. And dude, it's wild. And it was all directed. And dude, it's unreal, dude. I mean, but it's I don't
very graphic.
Yeah. No, but it's out there, it's there, and it's naming names for generations when how the CIA and the FBI got power and how they got involved and how they maintained power and how they maintained funding and all these black operations, and it's really, and it's out there for anybody to see, now, and I don't know. It's just interesting that kind of stuff is all coming to light. All that stuff is being revealed, right? And there's information being revealed that we thought was, there's so many things like, the geoengineering. What do they call it? Or what are these? Chemtrails, where that's a conspiracy theory, and now it's geoengineering and it's cloud seeding and it's openly talked about, and there's no conspiracy anymore. But for a while there was conspiracy theory, but now the information is being revealed, and you're seeing all these things with, all these conspiracies, information being revealed, and that's kind of like, people, even like in 2012 when you had your group and you had a big influx into Vilcabamba with the Mayan calendar, and it's the apocalypse, and people.
That wasn't my group.
It was Fukushima and the Mayan calendar. They kind of overlapped a little bit.
Right,
a lot of people were leaving because of the radiation fallout.
Right, and stuff. People were saying apocalypse, and then in 2000, when COVID apocalypse, and there's all these, apocalypse, and if you look back at the etymology of the word. It's not
all that is hidden will come to
right.
light.
It's
or
like
be revealed
it's like,
or something like that.
The revelation, revealing things that are hidden. Not apocalypse, Mad Max.
Sure.
Right.
The word apocalypse is the Revelation. Actually, it's the book of Apocalypse is the book of Revelation.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So, but people, when you say the word apocalypse, people just think Mad Max and living in a bunker and everything's destroyed.
That image has been
programmed.
Given to people, right? Exactly.
Yeah. So it's just interesting that we're in that time, we're in that era, and then you're actually seeing information that we know. I mean, we were tinfoil hatters, right, for bringing those kind of things into conversations, and now it's like kind of generally accepted, and almost like it was never a conspiracy. It was never, like there was never a taboo about it. It's like, that's.
Well, what's that in the George Orwell in the was that 1984 where they rewrite history because whatever the current idea is always was, and so it feels like that a little bit.
Yeah.
The Mandela effect. A little different, but.
Yeah,
another interesting rabbit hole.
Yes, it is.
Yeah,
that we could do another conspiracy. Do you guys want to? If you guys want to see another conspiracy episode, put tinfoil hat in the comments below.
Tinfoil hat, yeah. A lot of people brought that up in the retreat.
We have gotten a lot of that. Yeah.
That's why they came. It's a lot of tinfoil hatters here in Vilcabamba. Nobody actually wears a tinfoil hat, but
Thanks for the
more.
clarification.
They don't?
I mean, we did that one time.
Oh, for the thumbnail, yeah.
Oh, boy. Yeah.
Oh,
You guys want to go into the power came back at noon. Exactly.
At least my tinfoil hat didn't give me myocarditis.
Hey,
Man, you're going for it. All
going
right.
What? Well, I mean, did yours?
I don't know.
Oh,
I don't know. I don't go to the doctor.
I don't even know if I said the word right.
you did. It sounded good, man. It was great. Slipping it in there. You want to go through the referendum questions?
Go for it.
I think those were actually interesting. Like,
Go for it.
there were basically 9 questions that were about security, weapons, drugs, cartels, blah blah blah, and 2 other questions that were that were about labor and work hours, and another one was about like arbitrage for investment disputes or something.
Arbitrage?
Yeah, arbitration. Sorry, arbitration. Yeah, arbitration.
It's like, huh.
You're going to buy pairs here and sell them in
I think in Spanish it said arbitraje. Anyways,
Okay.
Yeah.
somebody had brought up that word recently. But I could just read through the questions and tell you what we
Sure.
voted real quick. So this was a consulta popular, popular vote or referendum. It happened on Sunday 2 days ago. Ecuadorians have to vote in Ecuador, otherwise they get penalized. They have to pay a fine.
It's like $50, I think.
Yeah, so most people vote.
And they get the day off of work, right?
Well, it's Sunday.
usually on a
always
Sunday.
It's usually on a Sunday. Okay.
Yeah, but I went through town. People were just walking to the high school where the vote happens.
Yeah, my wife had to go to Loja and vote.
Yeah. If you live in a different area where you're registered, you have to register
She
yourself.
get that changed.
Yeah, it's like we've been meaning to do that for years. I'm registered in Loja too, but I didn't go for this one. But.
Yeah, but interestingly, as permanent residents, we don't have to vote legally.
No.
We
Citizens
can go.
have to.
Citizens
Permanent
have to.
residents do not.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. So the majority of Ecuadorians vote, like 95+%, which it's interesting. Question A: do you agree with allowing complementary support from the armed force in the functions of the national police to combat organized crime, partially amending the Constitution? So that was voted yes by a majority. So,
right.
So now, the armed force, the military, is going to be able to support the national police, which usually I think it was only under the state of emergency they would do it, but now they can.
Right.
They might change the Constitution to where the armed force will be able to help the police.
So that just the opponents of that one would be that's allowing a president to basically not need to declare emergency for martial law.
Right.
Right. Yeah, which does matter.
It does.
Yeah, it does matter.
Yeah.
That people voted yes for that. Right?
So the Ecuadorians voted yes for that, right? So so that's and it's slippery slope how they explain it. You know how they word it like, oh, don't you want help? Right. But again, like that's taking things to some very very extreme position for it to be. Like, do you need approval, for the government if they want to enact martial law, really, or not? No. I mean, of course not. So, like I don't know, like what is it?
Well, and also, I mean, we've made this point many times, but it's worth reiterating now. Like you have power in the populace here. You have popular power. I don't know if that's the right way to say that here that you don't have in other places, right? So if the government starts doing stuff that is overreach that people don't like, they lose support and they have to stop quickly. And we've seen that over and over again, many, many times. I won't get into all that stuff now, but it's sort of like a real check and balance.
Yeah.
Not like Congress and the Supreme Court and the fake check and balance. Right. It's like a real check and balance where if you piss people off, they're going to stop what you're doing in this country, which is awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, now the military might be more involved, which every interaction I've had with police and military here has been really nice. Yeah. Overall, they seem to be there to help people, and they're much more human, and all right. Question B: do you agree with allowing the extradition of Ecuadorians under the conditions, requirements, restrictions, and prohibitions established in the Constitution, international instruments, and the law, amending the Constitution and reforming laws as per Annex 1? Extradition. So my understanding with that is if an Ecuadorian committed a crime in Ecuador and was sentenced they could be extradited back or the other way around.
I have no idea.
No clue.
Yeah. It could also be Ecuadorians that commit a crime elsewhere would be extradited. It's either...
Perhaps, or extradited out.
Yeah.
In or
that's
out.
what I mean.
Yeah,
Like if an
yeah.
Ecuadorian came back to Ecuador but was a criminal in another country, they would be sent back.
Right.
Which
'Cause
they
you-
already have agreements with lots of countries on that anyway. Yeah, I
Well,
don't know.
if it has to do with, again, I'm totally speculating because I don't know, but if they're amending, if there's partial amendment of the Constitution, that would be to benefit Ecuadorian citizens. So
Right.
the constitutional protection is probably not again, I'm speculating, not extraditing them out if there was a constitutional protection. We don't extradite our own citizens. So if this is saying now maybe, if they're amending the Constitution, maybe they're saying in some cases, for whatever that, they may extradite Ecuadorian citizens.
So what I found,
It could be totally
I saw something on social media which I thought was kind of funny if that's the case. Mexico is asking for Noboa to be extradited.
So that's probably it. That's probably exactly what I said then. Yeah, that's funny.
Because he would have committed a crime under Mexican soil in the embassy. Therefore,
So that they can now, all right, yeah. So did they vote yes or no for that
they
one?
did vote yes.
Yes for that one. Okay.
Yeah, they did vote yes.
All right.
All right. Question C. Do you agree with the establishment of specialized constitutional courts as at both the first and second instance levels for handling the corresponding judicial guarantees, amending the Constitution and reforming the organic law of jurisdictional guarantees and constitutional control?
So special counsel, they're basically saying, are you going to allow a special counsel to convene to change the Constitution? Is that kind of what that sounded like to you?
Establishment of specialized constitutional courts.
Constitutional courts
Yeah.
to change the Constitution? I don't know, man.
Yeah, I know that was voted yes.
That was voted yes too.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
This is also like
This is hardcore analysis. This is heavy hitting.
I'm just trying to see if I can understand what the hell it even means.
Yeah, I've tuned out. So.
Yeah. It had to do with like safety and security stuff. I mean, technically speaking, they're saying this was one of those questions that were kind of under that umbrella. Do you agree? Question D. Do you agree that the Ecuadorian state recognizes international arbitration as a method to resolve disputes in investment, contractual, or commercial matters?
Okay.
That was voted no. That was one of the no's, right?
No arbitration.
No
right?
arbitration. No international arbitration.
I mean,
Yeah.
if that's a rejection of international organizations, I'm all for it.
Right.
Yeah, I think there was, at least the little bit that I know is like there was some kind of conflict of interest with the political people and businesses and arbitration and things like this. Potentially, if potentially this would have benefited, some big businesses and stuff like that, basically.
Okay.
That was voted no.
Okay.
Do you agree with amending the Republic's constitution and reforming the labor code to regulate fixed-term and hourly employment contracts when first celebrated between the same employer and worker without affecting the worker's acquired rights according to Annex 4? So this was voted no as well.
And that was to go from a monthly wage to an hourly wage, or no?
Yeah, there might have been some more nuance, but yes, they were trying to kind of establish an hourly employment contract rather than what's currently.
And that got rejected.
That was rejected as well. Those are the only two questions that were rejected. Is the last.
I'm glad
two,
about that, because that would have made more government control possible if there was.
Oh,
if
for
there
business
was,
owners.
Just in general, yeah. I mean, they would like labor in general. Yeah.
Yeah.
So those are the only two that were rejected?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, everything else.
And that's at least from what I've seen that the Correistas are like, we won because those were the main two things that.
Oh,
they
the
cared
Correistas
about.
didn't want that?
They didn't want that.
Huh.
Yeah.
Never mind, I changed my.
Yeah.
You beat me on that one.
Oh.
All right. All right. Do you agree with the armed force conducting permanent control of weapons, ammunition, explosives, and accessories on the routes, roads, paths, and corridors authorized for entry to social rehabilitation centers?
What?
Do you agree for the
Prisons, I
military
guess?
to not let weapons and
Yeah.
explosives into prisons?
Right.
Yes. That was voted yes. Do you agree that the penalties for the crimes of terrorism and its financing, production of illicit trafficking or controlled substances, organized crime, murder, contract killing, human trafficking, extortionate, kidnapping, arms trafficking, money laundering, illegal mining activities should be increased, reforming the comprehensive organic criminal code as per the questions annex?
Oof.
So, larger sentences.
I feel like I'm in college, bro. I feel like I'm in high school. I'm like, I'm gonna fail this. I'm gonna fail this quiz.
I'm getting there. We're almost done here.
So what happened
so
with that
basically,
one?
all of these different crimes would require the penalties would be increased, right, for those particular crimes.
Good.
Okay, they got voted yes.
Yes, voted yes for that. Do you agree that persons deprived of liberty serve their entire sentence within the Social Rehabilitation Center for the crimes detailed in the questions annex, amending the Comprehensive Organic Criminal Code? Yeah, so the crimes that I just mentioned, they would have to serve their entire sentence in jail.
Versus, that's important.
Versus
that's
having
super important.
being able to leave
they get out
halfway
all the time,
or even, you know.
So like they'll get a long they'll get a. I mean, the sentences in Ecuador are shorter than we're used to. Period, which has its good and its bad. But people will commit a crime, get sentenced to whatever, and get out in 18 months and 36 months, and sometimes there needs to be some stiffer penalties.
They usually get out under certain conditions. They have to go sign. They're under house arrest. There's whatever. But some people get let out. Which was the case with Jorge Glass, for example. He'd already served 5 years in jail, but was released, right? Under house arrest and whatnot. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Do you agree with criminalizing the possession or carrying of weapons, ammunition, or components that are exclusively for the use of the armed forces or national police without affecting firearms permitted for civilian use, amending the Comprehensive Organic Criminal Code as per the question annex? So, criminalizing the possession or carrying of weapons that would typically be exclusively used for armed forces. So my understanding with that, I spoke to someone about this, is that certain firearms are permitted for civilian use, but others aren't. Right. And so criminalizing the possession of those types of weapons, I would assume it was already criminalized.
I was going to say, I don't understand that one, because how is it, if it's not already for civilian use, is it just not?
Maybe it's a stiffer.
Maybe there's no fine for it, or maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but yeah.
Weird.
That was voted yes as well. It means to decrease, weapons, but there's certain weapons that are permitted, or maybe they change the categories.
That's a slippery slope one too.
That's a slippery slope.
Yeah. I spoke to an Ecuadorian gentleman. He was saying that a 9mm, pistol is legal, but anything above that would be illegal. Would be only
in
used
a
for
caliber.
Like
the caliber, is that what we're talking about? Yeah.
Does that make sense? I'm not a
could be. Yeah, I mean that's.
Expert, but
so that's like no rifles. Yeah. Like I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think it was either legal to own rifles.
Oh, it's not?
No, I think I'm not an expert.
So they might have changed that. Basically here. All right. Do you agree that weapons, their parts or pieces, explosives, ammunition, or accessories that were instruments or material objects of a crime can be immediately used by the national police or armed forces, amending the Comprehensive Organic Code? So
if they seize weapons, they can use them.
They can use them.
I mean, do we honestly think that didn't happen? Or
I don't know.
Anywhere in the world,
I will shoot you with your own gun.
I don't know what they did. Of course, they would go back on the black market somehow. Otherwise, but now the military and the police can use anything they confiscate.
So they
voted yes. Do you agree that the state should become the owner of assets of illicit or unjustified origin, simplifying the procedure of the organic law of asset forfeiture, according to the questions annexed? So all of the things that we mentioned on other podcasts that they've confiscated, motorcycles, boats, guns, munitions, potentially money, the government would own it when they confiscate it.
If you're convicted of these, drug trade, cartels.
Of illicit or unjustified origin. So that was voted yes as well. So the government, the military, the police has a lot more power now after this, or at least it was voted yes. Now they're going to have to go and change maybe the Constitution or change some laws.
No, that changes. I believe that is the change of the Constitution.
That's enough.
And then I believe, but then they have to implement, of course. Yeah.
Right. And I just think of these things like the government. If the government really is going to do stuff like that, they don't need to do it. You know, they don't need to.
No.
You know, they can just do it. Like they'll find a way to do it. If they, you know, same in the United States, same in any developed country. If they really want something, they're just.
Yeah, it was like the state of emergencies during COVID.
Right, right.
Yeah.
So I don't know, like it.
Well, all of this, of course, right? What this shows really is that Ecuadorians really care about the safety and security, you know, situation. Yeah. They want the government to continue to chip at the, you know, the organized crime and deal with it basically, because it's become, you know, it's become very uncomfortable for a lot of Ecuadorians to live basically because of the increasing crime. Now, of course, our region is not seeing that much, but Guayaquil and the surrounding areas, Machala, you know, Esmeraldas, Manta, even probably Quito as well. There's been a lot more crime in the last year. So
yeah, and I wonder if there's things like, because even like September 11th for the states, you know, that's when they rolled through the Patriot Act and all this stuff, and it sounds like it's called the Patriot Act. It's probably good,
Right.
You know, all this. It's for the, you know, for the safety of Ecuadorians, and then you see all this stuff with, you know, surveillance and things that are now allowed. But the point of it, that's fine. The Patriot Act pushed it through. Now it's constitutional, or now it's allowed, but they were doing it anyway, even before it wasn't. Why do you think, you know, it's the same thing. If the government or the military of Ecuador came and said, like, hey, this is a drug, this is a house that's part of the criminal drug trade, and we're going to seize all the weapons and everything inside, like, okay, you know, who's stopping them? Who's stopping anybody? You know, I don't know. Like, some of it for me, I can't even engage with it anymore. Like,
Yep.
Yeah, it's interesting. I just had a thought too, that one that we talked about with establishing the arbitration and stuff. I think it was because I think the idea behind it was that the government would be allowed to use some international court of some kind to be able to seize assets that are outside of Ecuador for people that have been convicted.
Oh, they're good. I'm glad they got rid of that.
okay.
Yeah, so like the Correistas, they're like, yeah, we can keep our mansions in Belgium and Mexico and stuff, you know, because otherwise they would.
Oh, you're absolutely right. That's definitely what that is.
Huh.
So that was voted no, but.
Did you admit that, huh?
I'm not a true Correista. I'm a little more nuanced than. All right.
All right. I've run out of gas here, guys. Wow. It's been real. We enjoyed it. We enjoyed you guys watching. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you're still watching, congratulations. Thank you. We appreciate it. Put a like on the video. Please subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell. Leave us a comment. Tell us your thoughts. Yell at me. Less than Carl.
Yeah,
just me. Tell me why I am wrong about everything, and Brandon will respond to you in the comments. Check out our lifestyle retreat, please, in the link below. We'd love to see you down here and not talk about politics. All right, guys.
So we'd love to see you here one day.
So until then,
we'll see you next time, guys. Have a great day.
Ciao, guys.
Ciao. Hey guys, thanks for watching. Subscribe to our channel right here. Check out our real estate channel right here for content that you will absolutely love. Click right here. And if you want to know how we got here, click here.